a new stream, and this time again it's something different. I saw a very nice game. Someone sent it to me in the Maróczy bind, and we're going to take a look into it. And then I'm going to play a bit in the Daily Atomic, some variants, and then I'm going to play a bit of Blitz. Okay, so let's get started. So this game showcased a very one-sided attempt by white, and it's a very clever attempt that I mean, the initial theory is something I've thought about a bit, so I wouldn't say helped developed, but I've thought about it. Not sure if others have. Oh, of course they have. Okay, so let's start off. So e4, c5. This is the Sicilian, very well-known opening. Knight f3, g6. Okay, so the hyper-accelerated dragon. The hyper-accelerated dragon is an attempt to avoid some lines by white. Black wants to avoid some lines by white, some tricky lines by white that can arise from the normal dragon move order. And the hyper-accelerated dragon, for example, you don't commit to... Sorry, I don't mean d5. You don't commit to d6. IGH, you're in the chat. What's up, IGH? Big shout out to IGH. Okay, so you want to play you don't commit yourself to d6. So that means that at some point later on in the game, if white doesn't play precisely, he might be subject to a quick d5. And a quick d5 usually equalizes. As you may or may not know in the Sicilian, an early d5 is a very helpful opening. Helpful break move that usually it's said when black gets to play d5, black equalizes. Yeah, IGH, you need to relax before college. When are you starting college? Okay, so yeah, that's basically the black strategy in a nutshell. But of course, a very early g6 also suffers from its own problems. One of which is the Maróczy bind, which you can almost force after d4, takes, knight takes, and now bishop g7, of course, a normal move. You didn't play g6 not to play bishop g7. And now you play c4. This is the Maróczy bind. Alright, so it's called a bind because you're binding this d5 square. Now, black's strategy, which I just mentioned, which is to play a d5 break, is almost impossible to achieve. And now, of course, it's impossible, and in the foreseeable future, it's quite unlikely to happen. So, what are some strategic insights we can gain from this position? Well, this Maróczy bind means that the d5 break is very well countered, and f5 and b5 breaks are also a bit harder to achieve, so black is kind of cramped. That means that black is suffering from a space disadvantage. And when there is a space disadvantage, it means, usually, that black wants to trade off pieces. Why does black want to trade off pieces if he or she has a space disadvantage? Because a space disadvantage means your pieces have less space to maneuver in, right? So if they have less space to maneuver in, if we can imagine like atoms interacting with each other, if they have less space to maneuver in, it means they might bump into each other very frequently. So let's say I want access to this e7 square. At some point, maybe the bishop wants to make use of e7, and maybe the knight wants to make use of e7. That means that two pieces want to make use of the same square. And that's because they have very limited options. They have like 3 possible positions in which they can be in. So that's problematic. They can't... they're fighting for the same squares, basically. So when they're fighting for the same squares, that means that it's due to the space disadvantage, and that means that black needs to trade pieces to alleviate the pressure from the space disadvantage. Because with less pieces on the board, there are less pieces that can jumble up against each other, that take away squares from each other. In contrast, white wants to avoid piece exchanges. White wants to avoid piece exchanges because he or she is the one with the space advantage. That means they have more space to maneuver in. And at the same time, the corollary of that is that because black doesn't have the space to maneuver in, white wants to deny black from trading these pieces, because that means that black will suffer due to the space disadvantage. It's important to note that an advantage isn't really an advantage if it can't be realized. If you have a space advantage but you trade off all of black's pieces, then you don't really have a space advantage in the strict sense of the term, because you don't really have an advantage, because you traded off black's pieces. That means that black is comfortable, he's not feeling the pressure from the space deficit. Okay, so this is very important to realize, because this will guide our thoughts in the entire game, our thinking process in the entire game. And yeah, that's about it. What else can I say in general about strategic features of this position? Well, white wants to break through with f4 and b4, but not at the same time. Usually it's either or. Either you break with f4 or b4. And more generally, I like a kingside attack, kind of, with f4. That's my personal preference, and that's probably the way to play against most setups. Now note here that black is adopting a fianchetto setup against the Maróczy. There is the hedgehog setup, which arises in this pawn structure, kind of. That would be, sorry, e6 isn't necessary for the hedgehog. This kind of thing. This is the hedgehog pawn structure, and with queen c7 and these ideas. We won't go into that now, okay? But just thought I'd mention it. What else? Yeah. So these are white's breaks. Black's breaks are f5 and b5. More frequently it's b5. f5 isn't so often played. So black usually plays b5 while white usually plays f4, but the reverse kind of plans are also possible, of course. And there's also another interesting plan by black. Of course, black might try to achieve d5, but that's really not possible in most positions. Super hitchy, wow. Not super hickey. Yeah. Is it a new problem, IJH, or is it something that's happened before? Okay, so a6, b5. There's also an alternative plan of a5, a4, a3, and queen a5. I should mention, of course, that it's a5, a4, queen a3, and then possibly a3. The point of this this plan is to demolish white's queen side, and this is a very this piece becomes very strong after this this annihilation on the queen side. So the point is to push the pawn all the way, force white to play b3 or make some sort of concession, and this bishop's long range and attack on a1 really shows. So that's another plan. Now if black is going for this very aggressive plan, white probably needs to play f4, f5. Kingside counterplay, queenside counterplay with b4 probably isn't wanted. So that's all I have to say about the Maróczy. There are some other interesting things. I'll mention one interesting piece setup thing. Now in the Maróczy, I want to mention that it's important that this bishop not be your only piece. If we can imagine a dream scenario for black, it's to have this knight fighting off against this bishop. This endgame in a Maróczy, it arises sometimes if white doesn't know what he's doing strategically, what they're doing strategically. When it arises, usually black should be able to win. It's very problematic because you have this bad bishop. But remember actually this saying that bad bishops protect good pawns. So this bishop is bad, that's true, but in this case it's protecting these pawns. It's adding pressure, it's adding some defense to the light squares. Maybe if it comes to b3 it can stop f5. So it's a very important piece. Don't just trade it off willy-nilly. And one thing I should mention is that it's also important not to trade it off usually in the Maróczy, again because of the space advantage. That dictates our piece trades more so than considerations of a good or bad bishop. So while if you were given an opportunity to trade the light square bishop for this light square bishop, in general, yes, you should take it. But for a knight, you shouldn't take it because first of all, the bishop pair, of course. But still, usually you do give off your bad bishop even though you lose the bishop pair just to trade off a bad piece. But in the Maróczy, because you lose the advantage of a space advantage, which is to have more pieces, so you're helping black to trade pieces, you shouldn't do that. But usually if it's these bishops, it's usually a good idea to trade them off. But you won't be able to in most cases. And actually, to be honest, there's some argument not to do that. There's some argument not to do that, of course. Okay. So that's all I have to say about the strategy in the Maróczy. A bit long, I must say. Still need... yeah, I'll go through this game in about 10 minutes. It's a very one-sided game and showcases white's plans perfectly. Black has some room for improvement, though. Of course, if you play the Maróczy, the black side of the Maróczy, we can help you out also. But it was important to mention all of the strategy because now you'll understand the game almost perfectly. Okay, so let's go. Knight c6. Okay, so black is attacking this d4 knight and wants to force either bishop e3 or some knight move. Now I found something. Bishop e3, if we look at the book here, bishop e3 is played in 5,000 games while knight c2 is played in 400 games. Really, and if you look at the percentages, knight c2 scores much more. Now knight c2 is a much more sensible move in my opinion. I get that bishop e3 is also fine, and if all trades happen, it's not a problem for for white. To the contrary, probably even. But in principle, this is the Maróczy bind. We have a space advantage, we want to keep it. So just remove the knight. Just keep your pieces on the board. Bishop e3 is of course possible, but at some point you might allow knight takes d4. And the more pieces black trades, the better off he is. So knight c2. This is my improvement in this Maróczy bind. Whenever you see knight c6, immediately you pull your knight back. As simple as that. Here if we imagine knight f6, let's say, I play knight c3, and now if knight c6, immediately I play knight c2. I don't bother my thinking with bishop e3 or anything. I just play knight c2 immediately. Just maintain your pieces in the Maróczy. Okay, so knight c2, d6. Now it's also important not to play knight c3 here because of this radical move. If you've seen this radical move was introduced in a Petrosian game. And it's a concept people might know from the Gingy Indian. It's not phenomenal for black, of course, but it's a kind of pawn structure that we don't want to deal with. Because later on there's queen a5 attacking c3. There are these possible knight maneuvers. This knight might be able to come like this to c5 to add pressure to e4. This bishop might come here, and in some cases the bishop might come here, too many arrows, to attack c4. So we don't want to, it's of course fine for white, but we don't want to deal with this different character of this position. So let's avoid it. Let's play bishop e2. Now knight f6 is basically forced. You want to develop on the king side. So knight f6. Of course you could play bishop d7 or anything or something like that, but then you just castle. You wait for black to block this diagonal. And if he doesn't block the diagonal, at some point he'll suffer with a king in the center. Or he'll have to play something crazy like knight h6, which isn't warranted. So he'll have to close the diagonal for the bishop. And now finally play knight c3 to defend the pawn and get the knight to the most natural square. Okay, so black starts off early with this a5 plan, but white castles, and now they kind of transpose after bishop e3. We can imagine the same position arising from more normal waters, which are these waters. Bishop e3, and now a5, and castles. And an even more normal approach would be this. This would be a much more natural approach. Okay, but the move order doesn't really matter here, so they play this. And now bishop d7. Bishop e6 is an entire other subset of theory. Now the problem, or the downside of playing an early knight c2, is that your knight, this is probably the only downside, to be honest, and it's not really much of a downside, again, to be honest. Because if the knight were on d4, at least you have the option of knight takes e6. Now, in these structures, knight takes e6 is kind of desirable for white, because you do get the bishop pair. But remember, you're trading off pieces, you're getting closer to an endgame where it's only your bishop that remains, so you're trading off pieces, and one of them isn't this bishop. And also after f takes, black finally gets to control d5, and you won't be able to get a piece on d5. So that's very important. Okay, so that's one problem. But here you can still continue with normal waters. It's important, of course, to prevent knight g4 at some point, so maybe h3, and you continue attacking with f5. Now at least f5 comes with a tempo on the bishop, so that's another way. But okay, they played bishop d7 here. Black he played bishop d7, and now queen d2. In these structures, queen d2 is very useful, because I probably want to play these kind of rooks here, or the rooks here more generally, because that makes more sense, because you want this rook here on this file so that it can defend c4. Yeah, so queen d2 is a very natural move. Okay, knight b4. Okay, knight b4 strikes me as a bit odd. Yeah, of course, if white doesn't know what he's doing, he'll trade off the knight, and black would be happy trading off pieces, but yeah, he shouldn't do that. So a very nice move here, knight a3. Knight a3 is very critical in these setups with a5, because it stops a4, a3. That's one point. And also it prepares knight b5, which is a very strong square, knight b5. Knight b5 protects against this bishop, so you can recapture with a knight if something happens. And controls the d4 square. And it's very aggressively placed on the queen side. It blocks queen c7 or rook a7 or some moves like that. And it's a very good place for the knight. So knight b4, knight a3, and now bishop c6. Now knight b4, now the point after bishop c6, the point of knight b4 is clear, but bishop c6 is a bit misplaced, because after f3, this bishop is biting on hard granite. So knight d7, trying to open up for the bishop, getting the knight to e5 or maybe c5, very natural move, but after rook a d1, there's really not much doing here. Now rook a d1 is probably a slight inaccuracy. There's knight a b5 here, which I much prefer. The point of knight a b5, yes, actually you might trade off a piece, but that's not so problematic, because the pieces that remain, yes, you do trade off a piece, but you can't be so averse. First of all, you can't be so averse in the Maróczy to trading off this piece, because you have to at some point play a knight to b5 or d5 because you want to break through. Now you want to break through eventually with f4, f5 or something like that. So just put the knight on b5 and consider your options later. You might play knight d4, and if this bishop is removed, f4 becomes a much easier break to play. And this knight here also supports this knight from this capture, so it's overall a very good move. We can imagine this kind of very normal setup here. After knight c6, again, you could play knight b5 here, to be honest, probably a better move, but also queen e3 isn't bad, because look at the pieces that remain. Yes, you still have this bad bishop, but this bad bishop will become good after f4, or it won't become good, but it will be an active piece. It will become an active bishop. Remember this duality, active versus inactive bishops, and good versus bad bishops. The pawn structure dictates whether a bishop is good or bad. In this case, these pawns being on light squares and the bishop being of the same color means that this bishop is a bad piece, but the activity of the bishop, how much scope it has, this determines its activity, how much scope it has. So this bishop is a bad bishop and an inactive bishop for now, but after f4 and something like bishop f3 or maybe even bishop g4, it becomes a very active piece, participating in the attack. Potentially after bishop f3 you have e5 and bishop e4 kind of ideas. Yeah, so all of this considered, this would be quite a good position for white, a very big advantage, I'd say, because again this bishop will become active, and the quality of the space advantage remains. These pieces don't really do anything. This knight is optimally placed actually, but it's attacking nothing. It's the case of an optimally placed knight not really doing anything. Okay, so return to the game. So rook ad1 was played. The problem with rook ad1 is it allows a tactic, but this tactic isn't even so great. Okay, here you can take with the pawn. Of course, that would be much more natural, not losing the a pawn, because then the queen would defend this pawn laterally. But again, someone who didn't allow this pawn structure here isn't going to allow it later in the game. But there was an argument to allow it. But still, this kind of pawn gambit here, okay, he takes here, but I mean, look at the pieces now. Also, by the way, queen d4 is a nice idea actually. Instead of retreating it to a passive square, queen d4 just centralizing the queen, making use of potential bishop h6 ideas with queen g7 mate, which actually occurred in the mate, this kind of idea. Yeah, so I like queen d4. What do I think of setting up an under something marathon tournament? What do you mean by a marathon tournament? Like an actual marathon tournament, a 24-hour one? Are you talking about the tournaments I've created, or do you mean a marathon in a sense like 2 hours or something? What exactly do you mean? If it's a prize arena or something like that, I don't like under something tournaments, because you get a lot of sandbaggers, and you get some sandbaggers that are difficult to prove, like someone having his, like let's say a 1900 gets his 2100 friend to play on his account. That's so difficult to prove, and so yeah. If you want to do a properly run under something tournament, it won't be fun. Not that it won't be fun, but it would be very strict in a sense that you'd have to have cameras set up and every player verified. Too much work for too little gain. Okay, so queen d4 I like, and now knight e5 is a triple question mark move, because after bishop h6 attacking this rook e8 isn't actually possible because of 4. And this mating idea shows. So queen d4, very nice move and a very tricky move. So yeah, black blundered, but his position here, the engine recommends rook e8. But let's take a look at the engine's main line. Yeah, this kind of position is ridiculous for black. At some point, white will be able to arrange an attack with a 4 f5. Actually, in this structure, not f4 f5. In this structure, I'd arrange something with a 4 e5. Because of these pawns here, giving me 2 hooks, 2 points of contact. So e5 would be a very great move to open up everything. Yeah, and then my space advantage would show. So this position is disgusting for black. Honestly, I've heard this from Christoph Sielecki, Chess Explained, great channel by the way. And myself, I don't get why people play the Maróczy. It's as black. It's I mean, this is coming from someone who plays the Czech Benoni. You really know it's bad if you're playing the Maróczy. Yeah, it's because you're cramped and like there are no prospects. I mean, in the Czech Benoni, you at least have this common plan. In the Maróczy, what are you aiming for? It's I don't know. It's playable, of course, but I don't see enough reward for the suffering. Like in the Czech Benoni, I see enough reward for the suffering, but in the Maróczy, I don't know. Okay, so here he can't play rook e8, so he must lose the exchange. And c5 is very nice. So this pawn structure, you have to play f4, e5, or c5 immediately. c5 immediately was played. And now, yeah, but white just opens up the position. And here he duly converted. So very nice. Very nice game by white. Black strategy seems to be off with this knight b4 idea. I would continue more normally with like a4 here after queen d2 a4, and now white goes knight a3 and the game continues. But not I wouldn't envy black's position, to be honest. And later on some break like this, or just planting a knight on b5 and seeing what white will do, what black will do. I should mention something. White can afford to really lose a lot of time in this position. Let's say black plays this, you play king h1, okay? Or better, let's play f3 to prevent knight g4. Let's say rook e8, king h1. Let's say black plays queen c7. Knight b5, queen d8, you play rook c1. See where I'm getting at? You just put these pieces like this, and you can waste a lot of time. Black really doesn't have anything to do. You can shuffle your pieces around and wait for black to come up with a plan, then counteract that plan. That's what dissuades me away from playing the Maróczy as black. It's unclear what black's plan here is. And if you can't find a plan, that's very difficult. So if you're a white player here, I recommend this, just playing these. They're not just waiting moves, they're actually useful moves. King h1 gets out of the diagonal, f3 protects against knight g4, rook c1 and rook d1. They get the rooks to the best places. Then when you get your pieces to the best places, then you start an attack. Okay, so that was it for this Maróczy game. I'm going to play a bit in the daily, where is it? The Daily Atomic. If any Atomic fans are out there. Actually, this is a bit too long. I don't want to stream for that long. It's almost 4 a.m. So let's see, I'll probably play like 2 games or 1 game. Yeah. Maybe 1 game. Let's see. Let's see who we get. If I get like a 1900, 1800, I'll play a game. If I'm going to get a 1600, maybe then I'll play 2 games. Okay, 1650 with a question mark. He doesn't seem to be very active. Okay. Let's play knight f3. I'm sorry, I'm going to spam knight f3, e3. But I mean, it's the best move. Why not? Oh, he wants to berserk. Cool, we'll berserk back. So atomic chess. f6 is the correct move. Yes, d5. So knight g5 here. You can also play knight e5. Check. Queen e5. This is all theory. Bishop e6 now. Yes, sir. I take with check. With check, I explode, I mean, these pieces. Rook c8. Bishop g7 is the move. Why is rook c8 bad? I have this check. What does he do against this check? Okay, here I can play this. He'll not recapture, of course. Or, I mean, he'll move the rook, but still I'm getting something here. Okay. Knight c3 or knight a3? Let's play knight a3. He'll play a6 to prevent this, yes. What do I want to play now? He is going to play bishop g7 at some point. Okay, let's not do that. e3. f4, okay. Do I castle? Can I castle? No. f3, better play f3. Just to prevent these knight f6 kind of ideas. My knight is a bit misplaced. Okay, h4 to prevent bishop h4. Check. Which might be a slight annoyance. Okay, I really want to push now. Does that run into any clever trick? I don't think so. They want to play like... now this threatens taking and... Okay, so I want to play this, attacking the rook. He has to play bishop e5. Yeah, he does. Now maybe this. He's playing quite well. He's playing quite well. He'll probably take. Yes, I'll castle now. I want to get this rook in the game. Okay, bishop e3. Oh no! I had a mate. I had a mate here. Taking here was mate. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Like this. Okay, let's take here. Finally. Okay, yeah, I'm really rusty. I want to play this. Oh no, I allowed something. I need to play quicker. Okay, pawn endgame, let's go. That was such a terrible game. IGH! Yo, you're back. IGH. IGH. Yeah, this was a travesty. This was one of the worst atomic games I've ever played. I'm so rusty, God. Wow, that was terrible. That was so bad, IGH. Do I plan on doing this more often? Yes, of course. I miss variants. I miss variants a lot. I'm getting back. IGH, look at this travesty. I got so nervous here when he connected the kings. So nervous, so nervous. Okay. Okay, I need to play like... okay, this was like a short breather. I need to play off stream the Daily Atomic. Yeah, I need to play off stream. I'm going to watch T-Pow's videos again. Shout out to T-Pow, by the way. If you want to learn Atomic, T-Pow. Are there any other... there are, of course. I'm asking IGH in the chat. Yeah, I know IGH, but I'm always afraid of stalemates because I'm really stupid. IGH is Chrono's site. Does it have teaching material? There's Alien's site also. I can't stalemate. Ah, yeah, you're right. But then, how do I get the checkmate? You have to, yeah, connect the queens, like, diagonally. Chrono's site it doesn't have teaching. He has the blog post on the Atomic World Championship. Alien had a book, right? Ah, nice. Okay. Yeah, atomic learning material. Let me access that from my profile. Where is it? Atomic chess theoreticians. Forum. It's not here. It's not on the first page. Yeah, here it is. Why is it not sticky? Can I still sticky it? I need to sticky it. Yeah, there are multiple studies. Yes, Deepaw's videos. These are the videos I was talking about. Very excellent. I need to get back into them. Yeah, I'll review them a bit in the coming days. Ah, so I played decently, even though it looked like I was playing. Oh yeah, here it's just a fork. Yeah, and here I missed checkmate. I noticed after the fact. So bad. Here he didn't really... Yeah, why didn't I check here? Oh god. Garbage. Check forces mate. Shh. Yeah. Yeah, IJH. Getting glue stickies. Hello, Hyperion. Nice to see you. Okay, so let's see what we'll do in Blitz. I don't know, maybe just one game Blitz also. I really... yeah, it's 4 a.m. That's enough to say. That's all I'm going to say. Kane's returns? Who's Kane? Okay, let's go for e4. Oh, the Mora Gambit. Ah, he accepts the Mora. Wow, I'm so happy right now. Let's see which line he'll play. Bishop g7, okay. e5 is a good pawn sacrifice. If you haven't watched my... this now. Wow, I've never seen that. I should run into queen b3, no? Just attacking f7. And if knight h6, I simply take the knight. Yeah, I've never seen d6. Ah, he wants to do this now. Okay, I take. Castle. Or do I want to play knight b5 first? No, let's castle. He might be able to develop. Like, okay, I have rook d1 also. Knight b5 first, probably. Makes more sense. Rook d1 now. Okay, check at least. Or bishop e3. Yeah, why not keep harassing the queen? 7 feet? Who's 7 feet, IJH? Yeah, at least now knight a5 isn't possible because his queen is there. Wow, maybe this, right? Yeah, I don't need to take the bishop here. I don't need to take the bishop here. And knight e5 he might play. Knight e5, yeah, he might play knight e5. Knight e5 I just play bishop e2. No reason for me to consider anything else. Monka Giga. Ah, yeah, Kane. I just take. Right. Okay, I get his point, but is it such a good point? He's attacking my knight. Okay, do I? Maybe I just play this. Yeah, I mean, still threatening knight takes f7. Just need to remove the queen from the attack of this knight, and I still take f7. Yeah. Ah, Kane, yeah, the WWE guy, yeah. I know him. Wow! What the Yeah, okay, I just play knight f7, or even, yeah, knight f7 first, just attacking the rook, and now d4 is hanging. I have no idea what he's doing. Of course, he must sacrifice the exchange now. Just move the knight, probably knight c6. Yeah, but just sacking this exchange, this is bound to hurt. Okay, maybe he's considering taking on e3, yeah. I'll insert this intermezzo, right? Then take with the queen. Taking with the queen just to attack e6. Yeah, just attacking e6 now. Wow, he's opening up this diagonal. That's insane. Okay, I'll play this. Preparing some queen c4 at some point. Yeah, he can't move his bishop also because I got knight takes b7 in. I mean, he has to, I guess. Yeah, this is just a clean exchange for an exchange, and I have the activity. Okay, this move, I want to meet it with some tactic. Okay, let's be sensible and play this. Wait, what? No, I don't want to trade queens. Yeah, okay, I guess I'll trade queens. I don't want to trade queens. That just eases his defensive task. He'll play bishop f5 after taking now. He doesn't. Wow, that's insane. Let me take this. And let me defend here. And bishop d5 now. Okay, I'm beginning to misplay this a bit. Okay, I need to focus. This should be a very easy one. Come on. Just get the bishop to d5. And play this. I don't want to allow knight d4. I allowed it now, but... Yeah, okay, he can play knight d4. I don't care. What does knight d4 do? Okay, well, it does something apparently. Let me play this, then rook a2. Should be good. Ah, this. Okay, I'll play this first to some point this. Might even sacrifice the exchange. Okay, this is garbage conversion. This is garbage conversion. This is garbage. You're witnessing pure and utter garbage, my friends. Just rook e6 also. Yeah, I don't want him to trade. Let's take this. Free. Yeah, now this is a draw. Garbage conversion. Hello, ChessFun27. Oh, I forgot about the chat. This guy hates his pieces. Look at him getting rid of it. Oh, that's funny. I missed like 7 billion wins. I was 2700. That's insane. Wow. You thought I was 2700? No, not even close. 2700 would be quite insane. 2700s don't convert like I do. Okay, I'm at a new high, 24.47. That's a new record. Yeah, so let's end this on a high note. 24.47 is very nice. Nice. Yeah, here rookie 6, of course. I was really planning on flagging him, but if he gets to an opposite colored bishop endgame, sometimes I play like 2700. Stop it, you! Stop it! Stop! Yeah, if I play the entire opening on book. Yeah, here probably the exchange sacrifice isn't too crazy. Besides, I mean, it isn't too crazy. Because what else am I going to play? I can't play around this knight. He really restricts everything. Look at this. Yeah, what I didn't notice about queen c3 is that it trades the queens. I didn't want to trade queens. I just wanted to come to c4. Otherwise, I would have played queen c1 or queen e4. Yeah, just to come to d5 or c4. d5 would also trade queens. No, chess fun. Bullet with increment. That's not even chess, my friend. Bullet is chess, but bullet with increment? Nuh-uh. Oh wow, I made a mistake early on? Huh. Wow. Yeah, so d6 should be bad, right? d6. No game found, of course not. Queen b3. e6. What to play after e6? No cloud move here, taking. Knight b5. Yeah, queen b4 doesn't make much sense, right? We go into this line then. Yeah, but here, okay, let's say he doesn't allow the check. Say comes here. Yeah, but here still after this is coming. My knight gets out. Yeah, looks lost for black. Okay, so I should have played knight b5. Here, what could he have done? Just queen b8 and he's fine. Okay, yeah, why didn't I come to e4? e4 is a much more natural square than b5. Okay, that was stupid. Queen b8, let's say this. I didn't mean rook e1. Increment isn't silly. Increment is silly. I don't know if you're arguing against increment in general. Actually, you even do have some arguments against increment in general. But increment in bullet especially doesn't make much sense because, especially these chess.com matches, I don't want to see a flagging race. That's what bullet is about. You're playing 1 minute, for God's sake. You want to play 1 minute with an increment? It's just... I mean, it exists within the realm of possibilities, but why would anyone want to put himself through such torture? This doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, rook d1. I'm guessing you can just castle here. Nothing doing. Yeah, here, the pawn advantage. Still, black has issues with development, but yeah. Yeah, now here, queen d8 just allows 7 billion tempos. I like bishop e3 more than the check first. First of all, the check first would get these queens in line with each other. And also, this forces queen a5, which blocks knight a5. Knight a5 is always something that I'm scared of with this configuration. So, yeah, I got these pieces in. Why didn't I consider that? So silly of me. I did consider it, but I mean, why didn't I play it? I briefly considered it. I should have considered it more. Yeah, here he loses an exchange and... yeah, actually, there's an argument to take here. Because after takes, now I'm the one who gets the tempo again. Yeah, with these ideas, if this opens up. Yeah, okay. So it's not, sometimes when your piece is trapped, you shouldn't really be so hasty to... Yeah, exactly, Chess Fund 27. Exactly. Some games, like, you could have a 1 minute advantage and your opponent played really well and he has 1 second and he'll convert against you. That's unfair. That's not bullet. Why are you playing 1 minute if you're going to play an increment? Just doesn't make sense. The reverse is also true. Why would you want to play a rapid game, like you think for so long, and you don't play it with increment? Come on, what are you doing? A rapid game without increment is silly as well. I do castle queenside against many lines. Against the Pirts I castle queenside. Against the Sicilian I don't castle queenside because the Mora is aggressive enough. I used to castle queenside before that, before playing the Mora, when I used to play the Open. I even castle queenside against the Philidor, which is quite rare. I castle queenside against the Pirts, that's more normal, the 150 attack. But also the Austrian is more popular, so that's not so normal, the 150 attack. And I castle queenside on the French Steinitz lines. What else? The Caro-Kann I castle queenside. Wow, I castle queenside against anything. In the King's Gambit I usually also castle queenside. There are two ways to play, kingside and queenside, but queenside castling in the King's Gambit is gaining more prominence now, especially with Shaw's book. John Shaw's book, you should check it out. Yeah, and here just queen e4 and... Okay, actually here I didn't play so badly, to be honest. This is... a3 is very important just to break down the structure. And a4 here is very important so that he doesn't play a4 and close it down. Even though I might have bishop, like my light squared bishop can attack the pawn, but I wasn't seeing a clear avenue for it to work. So I played a4 just to stop his a4. Yeah, and here actually the endgame with rooks on board I'm still winning. I didn't play rook e6 because I was in flagging mode. I pre-moved h3 here, which was silly because I was kind of expecting him to go queen d6, not king f5. I thought he'd play king f5. But I was also expecting king d6. No, queenside castles in the King's Gambit, chess fun 27. I'll show you what I mean, since we're here. Like for example, against the Fisher line, you can play that. This is the Quaid system against the Fisher line. G5, D4. And let's go for the Becker also, an extension to this. And something like that, and you castle long. Here. Also in the normal, without the Becker. Let's say bishop g7 here. Yeah, and you castle queenside. It's playable. Yes, that's true. It activates this rook. That's a certain benefit. More so than kingside castling, that's true. The rook activation is more pronounced than queenside castling usually. Yeah, I find building your repertoire around queenside castling is a very decent option, like what I've done. I've done it more so because it's more aggressive. Like you can play position lines where you queenside castle. Like let's say castling queenside and the Caro-Kann as black. That would be a more positional approach. Yeah, but building your entire repertoire on queenside castling is a very valid option actually. It shouldn't be the only consideration, of course. You have other preferences, but it's one option. It could be an important option. Yeah, alright, so yeah, good stream overall. Had lots of fun. We got some things going. Yeah, and thanks guys for tuning in. Okay, I'll have to answer that question. Why do players not play the King's Gambit? Um, it's easy to equalize as black. I mean, you have some prominent King's Gambit games. If you look at this, look at this. Sorry, I'm looking at E45, not F4. Look at F4 here. Okay, this is a crazy score for white. Like, white is drawing often and winning often. Look at the winning percentages. Of course, they're not that huge, and black does win a great deal of games. But I mean, like, statistically, the King's Gambit isn't doing so badly. And when it's played at top level chess, players are able to draw. Yo, IGH. It's short time right now. Okay, bye, IGH. Yeah, I'm closing off the stream. Just want to answer Chess Fun 27's question. So it's these kind of gambits, like the Smith Mora as well, the one I played. There are ways to really equalize for black, like really equalize, and it's difficult for white to prove an edge there. So it's played not because it's such a bad opening, but because, like, if black knows what he's doing really well, they can play. They can play not become better or anything, but they can start having a bit of an edge. So the mainline King's Gambit, the mainline Smith Mora, black has a tiny edge. But the Smith Mora is even trickier than the King's Gambit. That's why it's more respected. And but still, top players don't want to bother with this because they're very risky openings. That also plays a big role. Because as a top player, you want to either draw or win. You don't want to lose, draw, or win. Or lose or win, just that. In general, top players aren't doing that. Yeah, so that's the primary reason. It doesn't have to do a lot with the objective merit of the King's Gambit. Of course, I mean, I think, objectively, the King's Gambit might be losing. It might be losing. But the Smith Mora, I'm confident, if we had the perfect chess engine, it would say it's a draw, probably. Because the Smith Mora, yeah, but some lines of the Smith Mora can become, like, really, I wouldn't say dry, but, like, really, you just enter an endgame in some lines. And that's all of chess, to be honest, but in these kind of gambits, it's more forcing, so they're more pronounced, these kind of things. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end the stream, and thanks, guys, for watching.